This one is directed specifically to Joe Rogan and President Donald J. Trump. I've seen, I think in the last week, where President Trump has signed an order to look into psychedelics or something to treat PTSD. Okay, that's fine. However, you two have the biggest responsibility to make sure that if you're going down this path and going to treat with drugs like that, then you must deal with responsible gun ownership before it is those psychedelics or whatever is released. Because you guys have already proven, at least in Lake County, Florida, that the laws that are set to where they're not allowed to have a medical marijuana card and own registered guns, you can't even enforce that law. Now, to everybody else, I don't have an issue with weed. Literally don't. But I also don't cart around a gun. And I also stopped consuming weed about 2 weeks ago when I realized, no. I needed to make sure my brain was completely clear. So, to Joe Rogan, I like you. You're just weird. Like you're weird. And you make the establishment uncomfortable and you go after the hard topics. I love that. Literally sat in one of your comedy shows, laughing my butt off when my son was horrified. We went to Joe Rogan for him, but because I was laughing at your jokes, my son, anyhow, you have a responsibility. You have a social responsibility to continue to use your platform to help with PTSD, but to also, if they have PTSD, the guns need to be locked up. As someone who has suffered from depression, my husband can tell you, there's been a couple times that I told him he needed to take the guns out of the house for my own safety, because what I was going to do to myself. But I was self-aware, and my husband knew, okie dokie, didn't question me, it was just like, hey, I'm having a low moment. So that's called responsibility, admitting it. And until people can admit when they're going to have their lows or their highs, we have to do responsibility. If they are on a drug that is supposed to be helping them mentally, then maybe until that mental thing is taken care of, having a gun is an option. And to President Donald J. Trump, you have a big responsibility. You're misusing it. Your inner child is bleeding all over America. You're not God. You're not Jesus. You're not even the Red Cross or whatever else, but you are the president. And you have a responsibility to take care of us. First, stop you could probably do both of whatever you're doing in helping Israel and taking on the bad guys in Iran, whatever. But your responsibility starts at home. At home. You've surrounded yourself with a bunch of yes men, and anybody who stood up to you you don't like, you've gotten rid of. And that says everything about who you are as a leader. So clean it up, fix it now, because we can all do better by our families and our children. Because I don't believe it's about putting America first. I believe it is about putting our children and our families first, and then the rest will follow. So, to Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump, and VP J.D. Vance, thank you for your immediate attention in this matter.